Welcome, everyone, to the Healthy School Food Summit brought to you by Coalition for Healthy School Food and PlantPure Nation. I'm Ron Gandiza, your host, and today I have a very special guest. Maggie Siena is the principal of the Peck Slip School in New York, the public school she founded in 2012 to serve the families of the Seaport and Financial District neighborhoods. Prior to that, she was the principal of PS 150, the Tribeca Learning Center, and she's the author of From Reading to Math, How Best Practices in Reading Can Make You a Better Math Teacher. Her favorite vegan cookbooks are the Homemade Vegan Pantry by Miyoko Schinner. That's a great book, by the way. And the Veganomicon by Isa Chandra Moskowitz. And again, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a busy time of year for you, Maggie, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Now, tell me more about your story, because I want to know, why did you have your school choose or adopt a vegetarian menu?
In 2012, my personal children, my daughter and my son, my daughter and my son, who are at the time were going into 3rd and 7th grade, asked if our family might try being vegetarian for a couple of weeks. We started and we never turned back. So at that point, when we first founded Peck Slip School, my family started a vegetarian diet in our home. Over the course of that year, we had the traditional menu. So kids are being served chicken nuggets and burgers and the traditional school food. We had only kindergartners, and it was kind of astonishing to see how much food we were throwing away on a daily basis, pretty full trays of food going into the garbage. In the spring, I heard about Bob Groff's school in Queens, the first school, I believe in the country, first public elementary school to adopt a vegetarian menu. And I thought it was really cool. Like, I didn't realize you could do that. So I expressed interest to my school food manager. And when the year was coming to a close, she came to me and said that we were going to adopt a vegetarian menu. I backtracked a little bit because I had expressed interest, but wanted to make sure I touched base with our parent community before I made a commitment. We wrote an email to our parents explaining the benefits of a vegetarian diet for the kids at the school and some of the guidelines. If children brought lunch from home, they could bring meat if they chose to, and the parents really had no objection. There were no parents who really felt that this was going to be a barrier. So we went ahead and adopted the vegetarian menu starting the fall of 2013. We have pretty little kids. They were all in kindergarten and first grade. We only had about maybe 90 kids at the time, 90 students. And so they didn't really notice. We actually didn't make a big deal out of it with our little guys, saying like, guess what? There's no more chicken nuggets. And in fact, we had a student who thought that the falafel were spicy chicken nuggets, and he really liked them. And we decided not to disabuse him of that because he was really enjoying the falafel. Other kids who called the chickpeas chipmunks, and kids who were a little suspicious when they got farro with marinara sauce on their trays, but once they took a couple of bites, realized that it was quite delicious. We still saw a lot of food going into the garbage, and some of it's because there's not a big differentiation made between how much food you put on a tray for a kindergartner and how much you put on a tray for an 8th grader. So they really, school food's required to put a certain amount of food on a tray, and so kids, it was just overwhelming and they wouldn't finish it. But one of the things that I noted is that kids were consuming about the same amount of food as they were when it was the traditional menu, and there was really only gains for them, having more opportunities to try things that weren't meat-based. There weren't things they were totally used to.
Well, how did the Coalition for Healthy School Food help you with this process?
They were really instrumental in helping our kitchen to find and learn how to cook vegetarian dishes that the kids would eat, including things like chili and some lentil dishes that the kids would find appealing. When some of the recipes didn't come out so good, we had some loco spinach wraps that were really very difficult to choke down. I mean, they were being prepared inappropriately, and it was essentially unseasoned cooked spinach inside of a whole wheat tortilla, and that just wasn't going to happen. So they came and helped the cooks look at the menu again or look at the recipes again and see how could we make it more appealing to the kids. So a lot of the work that they did was in helping us make sure we put good food in front, tasty food in front of the kids. They were also helpful. They sent a volunteer who came once a week who encouraged kids to try things, sometimes took around tastings of things. We have a school population that is not largely an immigrant population in the sense of, kids who live in communities where they're eating a single traditional diet. They eat a pretty wide variety of foods. A lot of our kids do. We have kids who bring seaweed in their lunch boxes, sushi in their lunch boxes. But they're still kids, and some of them are pretty picky, and some of them will eat whatever you put in front of them. So having someone who would help encourage them to try new things was helpful.
Wow. So did you do any other activities? I know you launched this in 2013, right? So
yeah.
Done any activities like family nights or things to promote the menu? I know you launched it with less fanfare, but maybe.
Yeah. We had someone from the coalition or arranged by the coalition who came in and did some cooking with our first graders when they were studying restaurants. And everything that they cooked with the kids was plant-based, so that children had more exposure to vegetables and grains and beans. We've done 2 family nights, and the family nights are really interesting. Kids have some fun activities that expose them to delicious foods, maybe different kinds of bean burgers, different ways that chickpeas might be prepared. Kids try different things and find out maybe that they like them more than they thought they would. Trying different nut milks, for example, those kinds of things. Meanwhile, the parents have had an opportunity to hear from 2 medical doctors about the health benefits of a plant-based diet, and the presentations were incredibly persuasive, and it was actually hard to drag the parents out of the room and get them downstairs for the dinner. And the food was delicious. It's a little fancier than what school food looks like at lunchtime. They generally have a little more time to cook it and a few more people cooking it, but it was the same kind of stuff that kids eat during the day, and I think that was helpful as well. These are kids that generally have been provided with a fairly nutritious diet at home. I think for our students, really the benefit is exposure to foods that we want all people to eat, young and older, and so that as they get older, they see plant-based meals as a delicious option instead of something kind of weird and second best to a burger.
What advice would you give to teachers or to school administrators, anyone who would like to think about switching to or at least adding a plant-based or vegetarian menu?
It's an interesting question. I think it does require some PR for the families. Some families are nervous that their kids aren't going to find food that they're going to want to eat. And the traditional cheese sandwich isn't always an option here. We have to be a peanut-free school because we have some really significant allergies in our community. So, I mean, for some families, I would love to say, give it a shot, adopt a vegetarian menu and tell the kids to eat their food, to tell the parents to tell the kids to eat their food. I think the educational opportunities to learn about the health benefits are really worth hearing. And I think they were really persuasive for a lot of our parents who attended those evenings. There is an alternate menu that's somewhere in between the traditional menu, which is a lot of classic school food offerings, that you might see on school lunch menus across the country. But the alternate menu offers some of the vegetarian choices as well as maybe some of the meat and cheesier kinds of choices than the vegetarian menu is offering. So it's a way to start building some acceptance of some of the plant-based meals that are being offered.
What about the kids? Is there any kind of training or any type of education, if you will, to train them on eating healthy? Because there's one thing to offer healthy foods,
right?
But it's anything in the classroom that educates them.
We haven't adopted a lot of in-classroom education on this at this point. We are still working on developing some of the health education we're doing at the school, and I know that our PE teacher does talk about, eating a healthy diet, a nutritious diet, but we haven't done a lot of that work in the classroom yet, and some of it is I'm reluctant to go real hardcore on selling a more vegetarian and more plant-based diet in the classroom when children come from a lot of different backgrounds, and some of their family backgrounds meets an important part of their cultural diet, or it's an important part of their family traditions. So we've been trying to work really more through the parents at this point. I will say that the classes that do have a snack during the day, and that's our littlest kids have a snack during the day, their snacks are required to be healthy snacks, fruits, vegetables, healthy baked goods, other things that help us expose our littler children to some new things. We talk a lot about having brave tastes, try something different, have a brave taste of this, and celebrate kids who try something even if they don't like it the first time, because we know it matters that you need to try things a bunch of times before you know that you're going to like it.
Just out of curiosity, what's been the favorite for the kids of all the plant-based offerings?
The chili beans and rice are really good. The brown rice, they serve brown basmati rice, is absolutely delicious. They're wild about that. Our kitchen here, this is actually our 4th year with the vegetarian menu. Our kitchen, for our first 2 years with the vegetarian menu, is a satellite kitchen. So the food was prepared well in advance and then sent to us, which makes it hard to make it as delicious as it might be. The food here is cooked on site in a wonderful kitchen by an amazing food staff. The cooks themselves are new to a lot of the vegetarian dishes, and they really like it. They let me know that it was the first time they'd cooked lentils, and they're really delicious. Curried lentils over rice, absolutely delicious. They've made this wonderful flatbread with vegetables that doesn't even have cheese. That one went over really well. So it's a bunch of things that the kids are enjoying.
Right. So they're experiencing new foods that they don't necessarily, of course, eat at home. But it seems like overall they really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, some of them don't. And like I said, we were throwing out a lot of food when we were serving the traditional menu. And that's, it's a sad reality. You can bring a kindergartner to the school food tray, but you can't make him eat. But we do work on trying new things, putting them in front of kids, helping them kind of overcome some of their natural distrust of some new things and give things a go. And we find as the kids get older and older, they eat more and more of the food. If you have personal kids, when kids are little, there are some kids who eat a lot of things with gusto, and other kids who go through long periods of like, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to eat that. And it's, it can be many years of education before you get kids who want to eat some of the more challenging foods. And we find that, over time, they are eating more and more of the beans and the lentils, and no one goes hungry.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, have you heard anything about other schools maybe getting or hearing about your program and wanting to possibly try it in their own, or is it still kind of underground where people don't know about it?
I have talked to colleagues who are interested, and I think school food is really invested in making it be a success. They're reluctant to launch a vegetarian menu in a community school where they're worried that the pushback from parents will make it a failure. They don't want that to happen. They want each school that adopts the menu to be a success so that they can build success upon success instead of getting some bad press. So I know principals are showing some more interest. I know more principals are looking at the alternate menu. They feel maybe a little more comfortable bringing that to their community instead of going straight to a vegetarian menu.
What would be the biggest lesson you say you've learned in this whole experience from 2012, 2013 in getting this launched? What's your biggest takeaway?
I think we need to take care of our children. We need to be their parents. We need to be their teachers. And we need to let them know that the food that we're going to give them is delicious and nutritious, and be kind of steadfast in saying this is the food that we're serving, and it's going to be a delicious lunch. And like I said, where there might be some initial reluctance around a new dish, over time kids will start tasting it, will start eating it, and start enjoying it more. So some of it is thinking, we're here to take care of kids' bodies and to take care of their minds. And sometimes we can make math as intriguing and interesting as possible, but there are times that that kids got to do what we say. And so at lunchtime we are going to say, like, this is our menu. Welcome to our school. And I think it's worth getting through the bumps so that we know that we're serving the menu that really is where we need to go in our planet. We've talked about health reasons in our conversation, but we know that animal agriculture is a leading cause of climate change. And so it's going to be important for people to cut back on how much animal products they're incorporating in their diet for us to take better care of the planet. And I think the more we learn about animals, the more we learn that we may be causing some unnecessary suffering. And so there are a lot of reasons why we want to help kids understand that as stewards of this planet, they can have a really healthy and delicious way of life without eating animals.
There are challenges, as you mentioned. There are challenges, but it's interesting if you educate the parents. One of my takeaways from your talk is that, the parents make a big difference in helping to increase at least the acceptance.
Yes.
It's not necessarily even about replacing everything. You can introduce new things. Sure. And I think a lot of teachers think, or administrators are thinking, we're saying, replace your whole menu. We're like, well, no, this is how you can introduce and educate. And like you said, even your service workers, right? The food service workers are going, wow, these chefs are saying, this is great. This is new stuff, but it actually tastes really good. Yep. So that excitement builds. And I really appreciate your help. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you're doing and how things work out. Again, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Come visit us sometime.
You know what? I'm going to take you up on that. I'm headed up to New York, so I will be stopping by, and I'll have some of that lentil.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you for our viewers. If you want to learn more about the efforts of the Coalition for Healthy School Food, please visit the website at healthyschoolfood.org. And if you want to learn about PlantPure and all the efforts for PlantPure Nation and the plant-based movement, just visit plantpurenation.com. Again, thank you so much, Maggie.
You're welcome.